Hey, Broadway kiddos. Laura here, Broadway Girl NYC, and this is day 2 of the Broadway shutdown. I'm at home, and I have this tiny little area that I call my office. Behind me, you'll see an authentic Broadway street sign from New York City. And the chair I'm sitting in, actually underneath this blanket, you might recognize from the Gershwin Theater. This is an actual theater seat from Wicked that I got at the Broadway flea market a few years ago. So this is a special little spot for me. I've got my computer set up, and in a few minutes, I'm going to be joined by Broadway's Jesse Swimm, who's one of my dearest friends. I met him when he was doing School of Rock, right when School of Rock first launched on Broadway, and we're just going to chat about what it feels like to be working / not working actor / professional in the New York City theater scene right now. This is a support group. The idea is we're all kind of scared. We're all in our feelings. Nobody knows what's going on. And because I truly believe that what makes theater special is the communing with other people, it felt important to me to, on a daily basis, get together with the people that I associate with theater. And a lot of that is, in fact, audience members. I have said for a long time, theater without an audience is a rehearsal. And so while certainly giving a lot of credit and love to the performers and the crew and the staff and everybody who makes those performances happen from one side of the business, those of us who are in the audiences actually define the art form. So this is a weird time, yes, to quote Across the Pond and Back, who's watching now on Instagram Live. And I think the way that we get through any weird time is by leaning on each other. So as soon as Jesse pops into the comments, I believe this is my first time doing a shared Instagram Live broadcast. So I get to do one of my favorite things, which is learn about something new. And learning means sometimes fumbling. And so I'm expecting any second now, Jesse will join in the comments and make a request to be in my live video. And there it is. Okay, here we go. I'm going to click view. Go live with JSwimm1. By the way, if you're not yet following, it's JSWIMM1. Let's see if he connects. It says waiting for JSwimm1. Meanwhile, I hope you guys are all doing well.
Hi. Hi, Laura.
It's so good to see you. This is my very first ever shared Instagram Live experience.
Well, I feel very honored that you asked me to do it. So
well, you're one of my favorite people, and I know that you've been working on Broadway for a long time, and I thought I wanted to just mostly check in and see how you're doing, and you were generous enough to say that we could have that conversation publicly.
I'm good. I mean, I'm a little freaked out, to be honest. I mean, the reality of it right now is we are in very, very uncertain times, and we're in a situation that that Broadway has never experienced. I mean, after 9/11, Broadway shut down, I think, for a couple days, and this is a month. And they're talking about, an estimated $100 million loss in revenue, not just for Broadway. I mean, this is also local restaurants and shops. I mean, this is going to affect the greater New York City area in such a profound way, and it's frightening. And and not just the people who are currently working now, but auditions left and right are being canceled. I was supposed to go to 2 auditions this week that have been canceled. I'm in contact with my agent about an appointment I have next week that we still don't know. I'm currently taking a commercial class that we don't know if we're going to have class next week, because
wow.
It's sort of all up in the air, and nobody knows, because it's uncharted territory. So it's freaky, and we're all trying to maintain a positive, brave face. And the thing that's crazy is it's affecting everybody. I mean, yeah. I'm looking online, and I'm seeing posts from like Laura Benanti, and I'm seeing from Leslie Margarita, and from all these people that I look up to, and they're just as affected and devastated by it all too. So it's hurting everybody.
Yeah. And when you talk about things like the class you're taking, right? It's like, okay, if that class is canceled, then does the teacher get paid? And what about the venue that is hosting the class? And, you know, whoever owns the studio where you're taking the class might have a little cushion financially. What about the person whose job it is to check people in for classes, you know? And then you think about the person who takes care of that person's childcare. And if they don't have a job, then they can't afford childcare. And then that person doesn't have a paycheck. It's something like, you know, I'm making this number up, but I think it's something like 70% of New York City jobs are tourism related. And even those who aren't are somehow, it feels like, related, adjacent, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean,
it's scary.
Yeah. I mean, it all ebbs and flows with everything in terms of, you know, the entertainment industry. And, you know, a lot of people come to New York City for very specific reasons, but like the one thing that's always pervasive with people coming here is to see a Broadway show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether or not they know exactly what a Broadway show is. A lot of the times the response is, well, Phantom. I have to go see Phantom of the Opera because that's the Broadway show.
Or they show up and they're like, is Cat still playing?
Exactly. So, you know, it's something that affects, you know, everybody. And it's something that is very, very powerful in this city. You know, just like in Hollywood, the film industry, or, you know, whatever may be in your town, like those are the things that are affected greatly. So, you know, it's scary.
So the other night I was before this was Wednesday night. So my sister was in town and she flew out specifically because I had the honor of being invited to opening night of Six. And I was going to walk the red carpet and get to go to the after party. And even though I get to go to a lot of theater, and I often am given my tickets by the production, which is like, you know, there's no understating how cool that is. Opening night is a rarity for me. And so my sister flew out to be part of it. And we somehow managed to schedule 8 shows in 4 days. We only got to see 2 of them because the other ones hit. There was a Thursday matinee of Moulin Rouge that we were scheduled to go to, and that was the first show that was canceled. So we got there at 1:30 for a 2 o'clock matinee to pick up our tickets, and instead they were handing out flyers saying that the show had been canceled, and it was a very detailed flyer about how, where, and when to request refunds, but did not actually give a reason for why why it was canceled. But everybody, and I saw some of the cast coming out of the stage door, and I was like, what's going on? And they were like, we can't talk about it. All we know is that we're not doing shows today. But my sister and I ended up going box office to box office, being like, is your show on tonight? Is your show on tonight? And up until the moment that the announcement happened from was it the governor's office? It was definitely the government, whether it was the governor or not. The box offices didn't even have any sense of whether, they just kept saying, yeah, we're scheduled to go on. We're scheduled to go on. We stopped into a place that Jesse, you and I have hung out a lot, Glass House Tavern, which is a restaurant and bar on 47th Street, right next to the Brooks Atkinson, where Six was scheduled to open and did not open on Thursday night. And I asked them, what's going to happen? And they said, well, and I should say this was an employee, not an official representative of the restaurant. I don't want to start rumors where, but it wasn't a statement about plans. It was like we don't know how we as a business can function without foot traffic from theater. And that place has been one of our home bases, you and me as like actual individuals, Jesse and Laura, but also we as a community of theater artists. And the rents there are so high. Are the landlords going to be shutting down, like giving people a break on payments? I don't know. I don't know. And I'm scared. And the last time I remember feeling like this was around 9/11. Where I thought maybe there's going to be a before and an after, and our lives are going to be marked by this. I hope that's not the case. I hope it just bounces back and everything's the same, and we're like, oh, haha, remember how panicked we got? Lol. But I don't know. Oh, what's in your class, Jesse? Are you
I'm drinking some rye right now because, well, I might as well. You know, I don't have a job right now, and I'm just gonna drink.
Guess what?
Atta girl, that's what I like to see. Cheers.
I'm having whiskey and lemonade.
Fantastic.
Which is not a combination I was familiar with until recently, but I am now in the business of using the stuff in my refrigerator that's likely to go bad the soonest. And I had some lemonade that had an expiration date that was coming up soon. And so cheers to you. I think a lot of us are doing that. And while, you know, self-medication is not necessarily the healthiest way to do it when you're on day 2 of a crisis, I think allowing yourself a little natural or perhaps bottled relaxant is an okay thing. So this is my first time doing one of these shared Instagram videos, and I want to make sure we don't miss the comments, because this is a support group for all of us, not just you and me. Can you see the comments too, even though I'm the one hosting the video?
Yeah, I'm kind of going through and everybody that's joined.
Oh, cool. Great. I didn't even know you could scroll through them. I thought it was like, they were gone.
No, you just like go up and.
Yeah, I'm seeing that now. Look at this. I'm learning.
Yeah,
and
I guess
that actually, as a little sidebar before we go into the comments, like I've been thinking about my first thought was panic. What am I going to do with all this time? What am I going to do not having shows to see and to contribute to? Because my jobs tend to be working with marketing teams, doing sponsored social media, going to and hosting events, and and creating partnerships. The last 2 years, I've worked on the Tony Awards as a full-time employee of the biggest theater event of the year, and I'm like, well, what's going to happen to that? And then it occurred to me that there have been so many times that I've thought, oh, I'd love to, for example, learn American Sign Language, but when am I going to get the time to do that? At some point I'll figure out how to do a split screen video interview, but when am I going to have time to do that? And I'm like, well,
right now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I'm going to make any money doing that, but I do have the time. And if the jobs aren't there, at least I can learn something. So here you are watching me learning something in real time. I want to just read a comment this one's from Kate M. Donnelly. As a server in a restaurant, we're all cut shifts down to 1 or 2 a week. So basically we won't be earning money until this all blows over. We earn based on how busy the city is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's scary. I mean, I've catered on occasion in the past, and, you know, I have a lot of friends that are in the catering industry right now, and every single one of their shifts are getting canceled left and right because, you know, nobody wants to take the risk. And, you know, and while I feel bad for my friends that are losing work, a lot of those people it's weddings. You know, it's supposed to be the happiest day of your life, and you have to put it on hold and postpone, and it's devastating to, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, your health is more important. So, you know, if you have to postpone it, then you postpone it. It's unfortunate, the amount of money, and hopefully businesses that people have paid money into, or, you know, venues or whatnot, they will give them some leniency, but it's still awful. I mean, especially the service industry is going to get hit so incredibly hard by it. It's devastating.
Well, and when you think of the intersection of how many performers make being an actor, unless you're like, you know, the one person who's been in Lion King for 25 years, you just have no long-term job security. And, you know, you mentioned Laura Benanti earlier, and like there are these other people you figure like once they have a couple of Tonys under their belt, they're going to work consistently. But I don't know, and I'm not speaking on behalf of Laura Benanti or anyone else, but there is this, like, they're limited jobs. And unlike television, where you can get residuals for something that you filmed 15 years ago, if you're lucky enough to get on a successful sitcom, you don't know where your next paycheck is going to be. And so many of us, even though I'm not a performer, I consider myself a freelance arts professional, you know, wait tables. And if waiting tables doesn't exist either, what do we do? I want to address some questions. One person says, are stores and restaurants open and empty, or are they closing up? I don't actually know the answer to that. Do you, Jesse?
I mean, from what I've seen, it doesn't look like restaurants and stores are closing. You know, I went grocery shopping last night, which was hilarious and ridiculous on a whole
Me
nother.
too. I did.
But as far as I know, in terms of things like that, it's not. The thing that is sad, and it is breaking my heart, which I implore you to do. The sad reality of it is that because this started and came from China, there's been a lot of inherent racism against the Asian community, which is horrible and wrong. And so a lot of Asian mainstays are shuttering. Places that have been open for decades, and they need us to go and patronize them and give them our money. You know, this is not. This virus has nothing to do with nationality. It has nothing to do. It doesn't care about the color of your skin. It doesn't care about what political party you are affiliated with. What matters is it is affecting everybody. And so, to single out one group because of fear is the worst possible thing. So I would say, you know, as much as the CDC and the WHO and the government is saying stay home, self quarantine and stuff, which, you know, is smart advice. But if it gets to a point where, you know, it does find that we can go out more often and it's not a problem, you have to take care of these businesses that are mainstays, and you have to go and give them your money, because they're going to be gone. And, you know, as silly as it is, like your local Chinese restaurant that you love getting, you know, General Tso's chicken from, if that's gone, where you can't get it anymore. Like, you have to go.
Well, yeah, and then what do those people do for a living, you know? Yeah. And that's why, and I'm going to do my best to keep this non-political, but I will say, if you hear anybody refer to this as the Chinese coronavirus, you set them straight, because I don't care where an illness started. It is not caused by or assigned to any nationality or nation. It is a worldwide pandemic, and all that does is sow the seeds of hate. Right now is a time for community, for love, for support. Stay home if you need to stay home, but go out if you're feeling okay, and wash your hands. And, you know, if you can get your hands on some hand sanitizer, bring that. But I don't know a single restaurant that doesn't have a place where you can wash your hands if you need to, you know? And I've even been thinking about that in terms of things like, where do I get my coffee in the morning? There are big national chains, and then there are small family-owned businesses that might live the business equivalent of paycheck to paycheck. And if I'm to be spending $3 on a cup of coffee regardless, it might be a good time to consider the little guy, and how we all can lean on each other.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of restaurants in my neighborhood up here in Washington Heights have been sending out messages to, you know, people who have been to their restaurants. I mean, my local Irish pub down the street, La Kayla, sent out a message to everybody saying, you know, that they know the fears of the coronavirus, and so they're making it their mission to sanitize and clean everything that comes into contact with, you know, as much as possible. So, you know, the restaurants are being smart, and they're combating it as much as they can. Of course, there's going to be trial and error, and things are going to not always be perfect, but we have to remember to be patient sometimes with a lot of these restaurants and a lot of these mom and pop places, because it is all a learning curve. We're all figuring it out together. Like, we have to do that, you know, because once we start attacking each other, then that's when the society starts to crumble and break down. So
the one thing that the Broadway community already has really in spades is the idea that we are all on the same team, that we need to get out there and support each other and be there for each other. And I think that if we can lead the way, even in a time when our entire industry is shut down, if we can lead the way in showing how to be generous, even in a time when our resources are so low, you know, maybe that's the takeaway from the world at large.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, I'm incredibly proud of you for what you started with, you know, having people give out our Venmo accounts, because we all are, you know, independent contractors, and we make our money from jobs from show to show. And sorry if I get a little emotional, I got money today from someone that I don't even know from California, from a man who runs this organization called the Broadway Radio Show. And it was the most, it wasn't a large amount of money, but the fact that he took the time because of something you started, like, touched my heart in such a way that, like, I can't even begin to comprehend. And he's going to have me on his radio show next week to talk about what's happening right now and to share, my 12 favorite songs that I love, and I mean his where is it? Yeah, he runs the Broadway radio show with Donald Feltham. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And it is those things. I have a dear friend, Josh Bartier, who has started an organization called the Artist Spotlight on Facebook, and it's an online place for us to come together. The things that you're doing, it's like we have to come together as a community to help each other and get each other through this hard time, because it is, it's devastating. And 30 days is a long time for all of us to not have jobs, that have the jobs at the moment,
Well, and a lot of us don't have insurance either, or have insurance that is contingent on having had work recently. I am almost positive that my insurance this month will be more expensive than the amount of income I get this month. And that's just for healthcare. And, of all the times to have healthcare, I'm glad I have it.
Same here.
And I hope I don't have to take advantage of it, but I've got it if I need it. But, like, I'm now using an eBay account to redistribute, we'll say, all of my collectible playbills that I have from over the years. I've got 150 playbills for sale on eBay right now, hoping I can get a few dollars for each one to try to, not get behind on my medical insurance. And I have them, and I always thought, if I ever needed to sell them, I could sell them. And I do love spreading the joy. Somebody's always been looking for a color Anastasia playbill, and I can make sure that gets into their hands. That makes me happy, and that's its own reward. And it is also, I should say, a little side hustle that I can do from my apartment. I wash my hands, and I make sure that the envelopes are coming out of a new sealed box, before I send them, because I don't know how people are feeling about getting used stuff these days. But it's like we're at least we're an industry of creatives, and we're all going to get creative about how we make our livings.
Oh yeah. I mean, I know friends of mine are offering classes online, for voice and coaching and whatnot. And, that's the new reality, is that a lot of this stuff is going to have to be done online, because, like I said, this class I'm taking is at a major place. And, even then they still don't know. They're going class by class if things are canceled. And so, it's crazy.
Going back to the comments, somebody asked, is the Tony season cutoff going to be rescheduled due to Corona? The answer to that is I have no idea. I've heard a lot of rumors. I've heard speculation. I think it's important for both Jesse and me and Jesse, feel free to chime in. I don't want to speak on your behalf, but, like, we only know what we know. And while I proudly call myself Broadway girl, I have no inside information. And even as somebody who's worked on the Tonys, I don't even know whether I'm going to have that job this year. I haven't heard from anybody. Like, if I was in charge, I think that those would be conversations I would be having. Is it time, do we need to postpone the awards, postpone the cutoff date? Everyone in the industry is not only having to ask questions, but having to consider what the questions that they need to answer even are. And so I could speculate, but I think it would be irresponsible for me to do so. Instead, I will say that I'll pivot on that thought and say, I'm worried about the shows that either haven't started previews yet or just started previews, because the amount of money it takes to just rent a theater, even if you're not doing anything in it, especially if you're not doing anything in it, is so significant. And there have been shows that have closed down because, like rent was too high and there was no ticket income. And I wouldn't be surprised if one or more shows that were scheduled to be part of this season end up not being part of this season.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some stuff online about extending the cutoff date for Broadway, because I forget what the cutoff date is for eligibility for your show, but I think I've heard there's been talk of extending that because I mean, look at the shows that are currently either in previews or about to open. It's like Six, Diana, Doubtfire,
Bing Street, Carolina
Street,
Change.
Carolina Change. So a lot of these shows,
yeah, The Minutes, Lehman Brothers,
they're all getting pushed back. So yeah. I feel like
I don't know if it's just me, but I'm getting Jesse has frozen. So Jesse, I don't know if you can hear. Oh wait, there you are again. You froze.
Sorry, I had to take a text message.
Oh, is everything okay?
Oh yeah, everything's fine.
Oh, okay, cool.
Someone was asking me a question about grocery stores.
Oh, do they have it? Do they have any toilet paper?
Probably, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, the shows that are, it broke my heart to see, Six have their opening night. Abby Mueller is an old friend from our early School of Rock days when we did it downtown, because she was part of our original company.
Really? Who did she play?
She was oh God, I can't even think of the name right now.
Well, there was like Ned's girlfriend.
No, she was the assistant principal.
Oh,
so
okay.
She was originally in our show when we did it downtown at the Gramercy Theater, and then when the National of Beautiful happened, she was in callbacks and negotiations for it but none of us, I mean, probably some people knew, but I didn't know. And so we knew when we were transferring to Broadway that she wasn't coming with us because she was going to be doing Beautiful. So like, I was so thrilled for her. I was sad she couldn't join us, but then we got the amazing Emily Kramer, who was awesome too. And I adore her I worked with her in Mary Poppins on Broadway. So like,
you know everybody.
Well, I'm old.
Experienced.
I've been here for a while too.
Another question just came through. Does this mean Thursday could have been the last show for The Inheritance and A Soldier's Play? Yes, that is definite. I can absolutely 100% confirm The Inheritance and Soldier's Play are both done. Those companies were told on Thursday that Wednesday had been their last show. And that sucks, because if there is one moment of triumph on Broadway, it's your closing bow, whether you leave a show early or whether it is a triumphant, bittersweet celebration of a show that closes or reaches the end of its limited run. To just find out you're done without having had the opportunity to savor that moment. Oh, like.
Well, it's like anything. It's a relationship. It's closure. It's, we put in all this time and effort into these shows, and, even if it has a finite time or if it's an open-ended run, when the time comes that that it's your final show, and I mean, especially for myself, having been a swing a bunch of times, when that this is your final show, it's something you not necessarily look forward to, but you want to experience. And so, my friend Laura Harrison, who is one of the writers of Emoji Land, she put out this heartfelt
and star. She's also the star of Emoji Land.
I know. Yeah. And like, it's her and her husband's baby. They've been working on this forever. And it's so exciting that it came to fruition off Broadway and had a successful run with Josh and Leslie, and like, to know that they don't get to, see it to its end, and that they, that they had their final show and didn't realize it was their final show. Like, you don't get to, it's like saying goodbye to a loved one without actually saying goodbye. So it's,
that show was doing great too. Like, you don't prep yourself for a closing notice when, especially like a retroactive closing notice, when your show is selling out. I mean, Anne Harada posted today that she didn't even get to say goodbye to her cast of Emoji Land.
Yeah.
And that her next project was postponed. I report this only because she posted it publicly. Like, and she's been in everything. Like the original Christmas Eve. You'd think, she's got nothing to worry about. But she's at home drowning her sorrows too.
Yeah. there is a comment from Kara,
Mm-hmm.
who was one of my Jane Banks in Mary Poppins.
Oh, Kara Oates, what a sweetheart. Yeah, she and I have worked together too. It's on some 54 Below concerts.
Yeah. To answer your question, Kara, about the possibility of it opening sooner, I ran into a friend of mine who's a dresser over at Phantom, because he lives up in the neighborhood, and he was saying that the reality is if it is contained, nobody's coming back early. And the scary thing is that, not to put words in anybody's mouth, but like 30 days is what they're hoping, if
30 days is like the minimum.
Yeah, so like we're all hoping April 12th, April 13th, everybody comes back, but they're not coming back any sooner. Like nobody's coming back sooner. And of course, who knows? I mean, that could change, but at the moment, they've all been told that they won't come back sooner.
You know what I think this is a really great time to do is to talk about the Actors Fund.
Yes.
You may have been the audience, may have been at a Broadway performance or a tour where someone gets on stage after the curtain call and says, twice a year, the Broadway community comes together and raises awareness and funds for Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS, and talks and has the red buckets, and they talk about collecting money to help with health and financial crises all over the world. And in addition to AIDS, the Phyllis Newman Women's Health Initiative is funded through this, the Al Hirschfeld Free Clinic, and the Actors Fund. And the Actors Fund is an organization that is basically designed to help actors get to survive this gig economy. And usually I feel like it's someone who, got in an unexpected accident or, like had a flood in their apartment and doesn't have the savings to cover it. It's like usually these one-offs as opposed to a global pandemic. But if there was ever a time that the Actors Fund can use donations from people who can afford it, whether it's $5, whether it's obviously like $5 million, if you've got it, they'll take it. But like, this is an organization that has the infrastructure to help. And if somebody says, my insurance for my show was set to kick in on Saturday, but then Broadway shut down. What do I do? Like, the Actors Fund will know the answer to that question and have the resources to get that person the help that they need. I think, like, while there are lots of places that are in need of resources right now, for the Broadway community as a whole, that's probably the most important donation that you can make.
Yeah, I mean, I'll second that. I mean, they helped me out a few years ago while I was doing School of Rock, actually, because I broke my foot.
What happened? I actually have never gotten a firsthand account of the help that the Actors Fund gives to someone.
Well, it was a hilarious thing. The reality is because I hurt myself at home. I was leaving my apartment to go to my show, and I slipped on steps leaving my apartment, and I broke my foot. If I hurt myself at the theater, I would have been covered, and I could have gotten workers' comp, and I would have been fine. But the reality is because I did it off premises, I wasn't entitled to it. And, I'm smart and I have insurance and I save money when I can. But, the reality, and as we all know, especially right now, you get behind in one payment, it starts to snowball. Mm-hmm. And so, I reached out to the Actors Fund to help me in terms of my mortgage because I own an apartment. I'm very fortunate to be one of the actors here in New York City that I have made my career, and I've been able to do what I love and to purchase a place because of it. And so, I just didn't want to get behind in my mortgage payments.
Yeah, it's not like once you've bought your apartment, you just get to have it.
Yeah.
Buying an apartment means the bank buys an apartment and you have an agreement with them to pay them back little by little over, 30 years or so.
Yeah. So and they were so, and because of all the work I've done with Broadway Cares and Easter Bonnet and it was the Gypsy of the Year, but now it's the Red Bucket Follies and the appeals I've done with the speeches and stuff, they looked at my case and they helped me. And I have had lots of friends who have been helped because of it, either in their own for their own reasons, or because they have children that need help or whatnot. But so it is something that I'm a big proponent of. I love the Actors Fund and what they and Broadway Cares do, because they do help us in our time of need. It's the best thing ever. So yeah, any money that can be donated to the Actors Fund is greatly appreciated, no matter how small. It really helps.
I also want to circle back around to what you were talking about, and you got so beautifully emotional talking about it, which is that on my Twitter page, and then I added it to Instagram and to Facebook, I just said, if you're an independent artist who depends on theaters being open to make a living, comment with your Venmo account so that anybody who has an extra $1 or $2 knows how and who to help. And over 50 artists have put their Venmo accounts down. And I've heard from several people who have been both on the giving and receiving ends of small gifts, usually a few dollars. And every single person that I've heard from who has received a few dollars has been as moved and changed by the kindness that it represented as they were by the actual finances. Like, a $5 donation will get you a sandwich anywhere but New York City. But a $5 donation that comes directly from someone's heart that says, like, oh, you work in merchandise. I see from your tweet that you work in merchandise at Phantom of the Opera. I made my living selling t-shirts at Phantom of the Opera for 10 years, and now I have a corporate job, so I have a little more money to spare, but I see myself in you, and I wish I could do more, but here's a little bit from one Phantom t-shirt seller to another. Suddenly there's community as well as a sandwich to be bought.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a wonderful thing, and it's hard to kind of accept the fact that you have to, we don't like asking for that kind of money. It's there's a lot of pride that goes into it, and and part of me was hesitant to ask, because I was like, well, I'm okay, I'm smart, but and someone felt that I needed it, which was really wonderful, and I'm eternally grateful for him and for you doing this, and it's lovely, and I really hope that it keeps happening with everybody. And
another thing that I posted today in a similar vein is, for people who don't have $2 or $3 or $5 or $50 to donate to an individual or to the Actors Fund, is I wish more people would do this, because it's free and like literally almost effortless, which is to find somebody that you love, an artist you love, on YouTube, and just watch all their videos. Because every view that a YouTube video gets tells the algorithm, the whole Google algorithm, that people like that show and that content creator. And if you like the video, if you comment on it, and bless you if you share it, these are ways that tell the algorithm, oh, fans are going to like this. And that means it shows up in more people's searches, which means more people watch it. And for every view a YouTube video gets, its content creator gets, it's like a fraction of a cent. But you add up enough of those, and it actually can pay people's bills. Like, you take these YouTube stars who get millions and millions of hits, and they're making like millions and millions of dollars. And chances are your favorite Broadway ensemblist is, who puts, guitar covers on their YouTube channel, is not anywhere near there. But if you can take them from getting 10 views a month to getting 1,000 views a month, that can actually make a measurable difference. And I mean, I don't think that YouTube would like me saying this, but you literally can go to their videos page, click play all, hit mute on your computer, and leave the room. Like, you don't actually have to watch them. Yeah. You just have to have the computer register that they played. Yeah. So, Broadway Girl NYC. Jesse, are you on YouTube?
I am. I mean, I have a few videos. I have a couple from some concerts I've done, from like the Broadway sessions with Ben Cameron, and I did a thing for Breathless on Broadway for my friend Zach and Maria Rand at Sardi's this past fall. Some clips from when I worked at Goodspeed. I've been teaching myself guitar, and so I'm like been posting things here and there about it and trying to be more proactive about sharing that kind of thing, even though I definitely like A, need new strings, and B, I like flub a note here and there. But
it's not about being perfect. Like what we're saying
totally
at the beginning, like let people see your process. If people think that everyone on Broadway was born perfect and is always perfect on and off stage, no one will ever try to be on Broadway. Like, let people see the like warts and all.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, I have a YouTube page. Actually, what is my YouTube page?
Well, I want to subscribe to it, and I'm going to
as I look
all
right
your
now.
videos.
I think it's just my name, actually.
Jesse Swimm.
Yeah, it's just Jesse Swimm. Yeah, there it is.
With
I'm like
2 M's.
Yeah.
You're the only Swimm I've ever known.
I actually did like a Google search of myself. I think I'm the only Jesse Swimm in the United States. There was a Jesse Swimm like years ago. Like I think he died in the 1930s, and then I think there's a Jesse Swimm who is like 21 who lives in Canada. But as for being, I think I'm the only Jesse Swimm in the United States, which is kind of cool, I guess. Yeah, I have 6 subscribers on my YouTube channel.
Guess what? You're about to get 7.
Yeah, I have a video. Yeah, I have a video from Breathless on Broadway. I have a video of Anthony Rosenthal and I singing from your concert.
Oh, that's on your channel?
Yeah, I did a thing of mine. I like made a copy
That's supposed to only exist on my channel.
Oh.
But you know what? I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
And then I have a thing from, oh God, somebody like did a bootleg of Mary Poppins, the end of Act 1, and like I was like, oh, it was the playing the game number, and I was watching it, and I was like, I knew I was in the show, and I'm like, that's not me. Where am I? And then all of a sudden, when the rooftop comes down, and I heard the voice, I was like, oh, I was on his bird. That's why.
Oh.
So I have like this really sort of shoddy quality video that somebody took of the end of Act 1, which is cool, and I'm like grateful for it. So I have that.
And yet we do not advocate bootlegging.
No. So I was, and then I have like me singing at Broadway and Bryant Park, and yeah, but
this is about to go up on my YouTube channel, Broadway Girl NYC. Right. And Jesse, I have very exciting news. Yesterday, I crossed 4,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel.
That's awesome.
When I get to 10,000, I can actually use the YouTube space for free to create content. So I will not have to do interviews and Instagram lives from my 5x5. I think it was originally designed to be like the world's smallest breakfast nook, but now it's my office.
Excellent.
Thank you for sharing your, as I said in a tweet, promoting this, like your fears, feelings, and thoughts of the future.
Yeah, of course. Thanks.
We gotta like keep each other strong, lean on each other, give people hope, and also like entertain people. That's what we do, right? I talk to people for a living. You entertain people for a living. We're all human beings with like fragile hearts who just want to like connect and make people feel connected.
Yeah. This is, and everybody out there, this is Sarah, by the way. This is my dog, Sarah.
Sarah Brown Eyes.
Yeah, she's asleep because, that's what she does all the time. So she's grateful I'm home all the time.
I bet I took a nap too today. I mean, that is a way that people deal with shock and confusion and uncertainty. Yeah. So naps, highly recommended. I also just want to say this series, this Broadway Shutdown support group thing that I sort of did by accident yesterday, and I'm doing purposefully on day 2 with Jesse. I want to continue it. Jesse, if you can answer after we finish publicly, but if you have any friends in the industry who you think would talk to me and, just give me their feelings about how they're doing and what they're doing, that would be awesome. But I think the most important thing is that this is my saying, I'm not just going to stand still and wait for the world to go back to the way it was. That I'm going to pivot, I'm going to adjust with the circumstances and still create something, even if it's something from my bedroom or my office nook.
Yeah.
If you're a creator, create stuff and don't wait till somebody goes, till somebody looks to you, like I'm looking to you to create it, and comment and send it to me, and I will elevate it, like amplify it. I just want people using the unexpected window of opportunity to create.
Yeah, I'm definitely, I think it's great, especially, I mean, with all the, I mean, not only just Broadway, but a lot of the regional theaters that are around the country that have all these new works. I have a lot of friends that are in shows that are these brand new creations that aren't going to be seen to fruition now because of what's happened. And it's heartbreaking. You know, they have this opportunity to create something, and it's sort of, everything's put on hold. So yeah, as much as you can create on your own, in your own place, I think that's the best thing we can do right now.
I'm just going to close by saying, let's start brainstorming new art forms that no one's ever thought of before. Like, what if there was a musical about 4 people who were scheduled to be in a musical together who all got quarantined? Like,
yeah.
What would this 4-part split screen look like, and how would they get to know each other when they're not allowed to touch? You know, like maybe there's a musical about, maybe there is a form of not radio drama, but like Instagram drama.
Yeah, we'll get Drew Gasparini to write the music and Alex Brightman to write the book.
You call them.
Okay, I'll give them a call.
All right, amazing. Jesse, thank you. Follow Jessie Swimm on Instagram at jswim1, on Twitter at Jessie Swimm, on YouTube at Jessie Swimm, and on Facebook?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. You can find me. Jessie Swimm.
Jessie Swimm with 2 M's.
There you go.
Jesse, you're the best. Thank you. Stay strong. And if you need anything, I'm here for you.
Same here. All right.
Bye.
Bye, sweetie.